Welcome to the Channel Chat podcast. Proudly sponsored by Convergent Technology.
So talking to market conditions, every channel firm out here, and there's lots of channel firms here today, are really struggling to find talent, something close to my heart, being a recruitment company. Unemployment rate, lowest it's ever been for 48 years. Vacancies on the rise, salaries on the rise. In fact, extortionate salaries on the rise. I'm seeing now SDRs that are coming out of uni, 15, 18 months experience, getting 50 basic, plus commission, working for a vendor. Non-closing role. So, what are we doing about trying to attract talent to your businesses in this such a competitive market?
Is that question for me? Yeah. For us at Armis, we are highly leaning on the referral program. Right? I mean, that is the best way that you get talent in the front door, right? Another thing that we've done to kind of differentiate ourselves from other technology companies is we've introduced something called a first Friday of the month me day, right? Where it's your day. You don't have to work. It's essentially a day off. And what we find is that's given everybody back a little bit of work-life balance, and it's just truly working out. So that is something that we've done to draw talent in, and it's working really well.
Are you struggling with salaries? How competitive is your salaries to attract people? Because the salaries seem to be going through the roof at the moment.
You know what? We might be a root cause of that problem, being valued at $3.4 billion and having just recently taken in capital of $300 million on our latest funding round. So we're looking for the right people to drive growth in the business. So we're probably adding to the problem as opposed to trying to mitigate down increased salaries.
What about you, Hayley? Distology, is it challenging trying to attract talent for your business?
It's challenging to attract talent for any business at the moment, literally in every single industry. And it depends what talent you need and how you're looking at the market. I think the stat is that there's more open roles than there are unemployed people at the moment. And that's been the case, that's unique for the last 30, 40 years. So we've got to start thinking about being open-minded and transferable skills, because otherwise we're just not simply going to find the people to plug the gaps. So we've got to actually work a bit harder to train people, develop people, find them from different avenues, and not be frightened to challenge the norm of it's obvious, so let's just take on that person who's got that experience.
What about you, Marc? Struggling to find talent, attracting talent?
I wouldn't say we're struggling, but I think it's a different environment. As I think about talent development at HPE and what we try to do over a number of years, we're not setting out to be the top player in the market, right? We're not setting out to go pay more than anyone else and then bring a set of people in. It's not really the kind of philosophy or the culture of how we run it. So we focus really hard on how you develop talent. I think that some of the best people we have in our business have come through HPE and have decided to stay there for the long term. So we've spent a whole load of time building out what I think is one of the best talent development programs in the industry, and really increasing the number of young people we bring in and taking more risk on people to progress them. One of the narrative points I set with leaders in our business was when we hire, I want us to hire, yes, on capability, does someone have the raw skills? But then second on motivation, and experience for me comes third, because people can learn, and it's amazing how much people can progress. So I think that works well for us. Maybe the thing that's more on my mind than talent attraction is talent retention, like keeping people in the business, particularly when you've got those sort of early career programs that bring people through, and then all of a sudden they look around and they're like 5 or 6 years in one company, and they're going, well, maybe I want to do something different. What's going on out there? And finding ways to create an environment where people want to stay, or you give them that space. Something we've seen quite a lot of is allowing people to take secondment breaks. Like, don't go and get a new job. Do you know what? Take 6 months off. Your job will be there. Go travel the world, or go do something different and stay with the business. That's worked pretty well. And you talk about some of the things you can do culturally to make it a great place to work. I think for us, what we've done on paternity leave absolutely stand out, and there's a reason for making people want to be in our business. It's a great one. The amount of men we've got in our organization who are happily taking 3 months, 4 months, even 6 months paternity. I mean, I run the business across UK, Ireland, Middle East, and when my baby Leonardo was born, I took a month off and was very open, vocal about that across the organisation. And a whole number of people reached out and said, yeah, I'm glad you did that because we feel like we can do that as well. And I think you put those things together, great development program, accelerating people through opportunities and creating the right culture, you can retain the right talent.
Yeah. Mike, what do you think?
I agree. It's about controlling attrition more than it's about recruitment, because I think it's about consistency, being the same for people over and over again. It's about create. You can do different companies will do different schemes of retaining people in different ways, but it's ultimately about the culture of an organisation you want to stay at. A positive culture for me is someone who says, I know I could go down the road for, pick a number, 10% more, 20% more, 50% more, whatever it is, but I want to stay here because I feel safe, protected, listened to, part of the organisation. That's a positive culture. Anything else is rubbish. So, I think it's built over years. You see a lot of people running around trying to fix a problem at the moment. That's a problem they've created over many years. So it's a culture that you build over time.
With candidates now having the power, the candidate is king at the moment. They've got lots of choices. I had a candidate recently who requested to work from Marbella for 6 weeks for the school holidays and saying that was remote working. How much is it a concern for leaders that actually the power is going so much to the candidate now that it could go too far? Is that a concern?
It's a short-term phenomenon, Mark. I mean, I passionately believe that the economic conditions that we are driving into with higher interest, you made some very correct comments on employment. I predict we'll sit at this panel in 3 years' time. You'll have some other people. And we'll be talking about significant rise in interest rates, significant rise in inflation, significant rises in unemployment. I think we are in a short-term phenomenon. And I think for me, don't get me wrong, I have every day emails being sent to me about the Great Resignation, the difficulty to hire, the challenges in retention. By the way, all of them come from recruitment consultants.
Thank you.
I think the important thing for me is, to keep your head while all around you are losing theirs, and make sure that you see through this short-term phenomenon, because I do believe it is a short-term phenomenon. I might be wrong, and you can tell me I'm wrong in 3 years' time, but I think this is a short-term issue.
What about you, Hayley? What do you think?
It could be massively crushing if I lose 2 or 3 people because I'm a small business, right? I don't have the stats to suggest that it's okay because we're only losing a small percentage of people. And actually, it punches a hole in the culture that we're trying to create. So I've got a slightly different problem. But retaining staff is really, really important. I think you've got to be flexible to a point, but if the business need is there that overrides somebody's flexibility, then you've got to address that too. And you've just got to keep that transparency of why you're doing the things you're doing as a business out there with your employees, because you've got to see them as being on the bus, to quote a famous quote, with you to take this journey onwards. So, you've got to have that core team, so some people moving in the lower echelons or the start of their career because they get attracted by a massive salary, great. And there are a lot of American companies now, sorry, David, coming over and saying, you can work wherever and we're going to pay you large salaries. That's huge.
How do you protect yourself from that? How do you protect yourself from David coming over and saying, you know what, I'm going to pay 50 basic for an SDR that's been out of uni for a year.
What is an SDR? Can we
making appointments for someone. Someone. Sales development rep.
Sales development.
Yeah.
Sales development rep.
Yeah.
A sales development representative.
Someone making appointments for a field salesperson that hasn't got a quota. They're getting paid serious money and they're being attracted by events. How do you protect yourself from that?
You can't. So don't try so hard to. They either believe in what you're doing or they don't. And there's only so much that you can protect them. I would never encourage anybody to stay if they don't want to, because if it's right for them, then it should be right for you to let them go to develop their career. And actually, we have some open conversations with people about what is their next step and where do they want to go, so that we're mindful of the next sort of 3, 4, 5 years of their career development. Because we know as a distributor, we will lose people to vendors, we will lose people to partners. But we're now seeing a shift change because we are different in what we do at distribution we had a
This
debate
is
earlier.
a really good question.
This is going to get way
because I actually said to Mike and Hayley, I said, there's such a skill shortage in the UK, yet no reseller, in my experience, in the UK, will take someone from distribution. They just won't. They just said if they haven't sold to end users, if they've been in the channel sales role, I don't want to see them. So I'll come back to you, Mike, actually. Would you take someone from distribution?
Would I?
Yeah, would Computacenter look at someone from distribution?
No.
You wouldn't. Why?
Well, because I think it's a different skill set. I think we would take them if we thought they were a bright young thing and take them into a graduate program and develop them into an end user salesperson. Fine. But an expert distribution salesman person into our sales force, I wouldn't take a plumber either. It's just not the same job.
But they've sold.
Therein lies the problem.
But they've sold it. They've sold in tech. They've had relationships. They've sold in tech. They've had relationships, but they can't get a job at Computacenter.
Sorry, was that a statement or a question?
No, I mean, that's a question. Can someone from distribution?
I've answered it once. How many times do you want me to tell you the same thing? Exactly. My point in case.
Do we have any SDRs that used to be plumbers? I mean, maybe somebody's made that transition.
What do you think, David? Do you think people in the channel can make the transition to an end user sales role?
You know, from my experience, it's a big leap. However, few can do it. And I think what Mike said is you can usually identify those people that are outliers and you can champion them through, but it's definitely a different skill set. Somebody needs to be driven with
obviously someone can do it. Obviously, anybody can do anything. They can change careers. But it's a different job. That's the point. It's a different job.
Can I just say, though, if it was an oncologist wanting to be a plumber, I kind of get it, right? Or an oncologist wanting to be a gynecologist, right? But we're not saying that. What we're saying is there are some core skill sets and transferable skills. We can't just blanket statement it and say there could be somebody who could just switch slightly, and that's what we've got to look at. Core competency.
Hayley, this is great news. This is great news for you. This is great news for you because of this thing that I'm saying. Graham and Martin and CDW and Computacenter and all the other great channel partners that are not after your people. You should be pleased about this.
I'm really pleased because they're too good for your guys.
I just got to say, in defence of plumbers, my 18-year-old son's training to be a plumber, and I'll tell you what, he'd make a great hire for Computacenter.
I agree. We need good plumbers at Computacenter.
With a surname like Waters, he can't go wrong.
Let's move on. Where is the biggest growth opportunity in your particular part of the channel? If I come to you, David, first, where do you see the opportunity in the channel for you at the moment?
Yeah, great question. So we're a 6-year-old company that has been selling for about 10 quarters. And we are in this window of time where we're shifting from proving the model out to scaling up the company, right? So our growth now is going to be from aligning with the channel partners to where before we were proving the model and we were trying to figure out exactly how we even sell ourselves.
So and again, I'm being really respectful here. I'd never heard of Armis, right? How does Armis establish a channel when maybe the the partners don't know you or distribution don't know you, and the demand from the end users aren't for your technology? So I don't know if Mike's got Lloyd's as his customer. Lloyd's aren't asking for Armis, are they?
Not yet, but they will. Right.
So how do you establish a channel? It can't be just
Absolutely.
pizzas and social networking events.
Not at all, right? It all starts with hiring some rock stars that really understand how the channel works, right? And there's companies out there that want to be channel partner friendly, and there's companies that are built with the channel, right, as part of the foundation. So we're that second type, right? So we've hired rock stars. We know exactly what we need to do. So we're shaping the company, right, to embrace the channel, right? And I'm happy to report that I think we have signed our first distributor here in Europe, right? So we're moving up well. So.
What about you, Hayley?
No, I didn't sign them.
I'm working.
Had you heard of Armis?
No.
You hadn't.
I hadn't, but I don't work on that area. I've got somebody else who does. So, sorry, I've just eluded the question. What was it?
So my question was, if Armis wants to establish a channel, would you take them on as a vendor if you didn't know them?
Absolutely, if the technology stack works, of course. I mean, we work with specialism, so it's totally different to just wanting the monetary value. We don't look at volume in order to take it on. In fact, we look at the solution, but not the solution 10 years out, the solution that it's actually going to provide in the next 2-3 years. And actually, if it integrates and collaborates with the technology that we work with today. So yes, we would, because we look beyond just the financials.